manage to come through the door, because they then won't be able to do the URL to support you. However, they can still catch it. Thank you, Grace. A little bit about me. For those of you who haven't met me before, I work with speakers to get their important messages out to the world. I've been a TEDx trainer with the University of Western Australia team for the last 5 years, and I work with speakers to get them ready to do their TEDx or bigger stages. Tell you a bit more about that later. My background is in speech pathology, so I've honed my craft from working with voice clients and also with people who speech is not their primary means of communication. So we've been looking at the non-verbal stuff as well. I'm from Scotland, though you wouldn't know it to listen to me now, but 9 years ago when I first arrived here in this Perth, I came from about 2.5 hours north of the other Perth. I am a bit of a communication geek. I've been doing this for a long time. I even created my own language as a child. And one thing that you wouldn't necessarily know about me is I love kombucha. I make it myself. Today we're in Christmas theme. We have cranberry on the go. Cheers. Thank you, Grace. We are really excited to bring you our free ebook on the 9 pillars of influential communication. 7 pillars was where I was working from, the system I devised over the time I was working as a speechy. We put out a survey earlier on this year and discovered that we were missing 2 important elements. So it's now the 9 pillars of influential communication. When you get the deck, all of those who are here present, you can download it for free and enjoy. Thank you, Alison. It is a really good information, full of information. Anyway, thank you, Grace. This is what we're up to. Active participation in the chat box, please. Reactions, you've got the reaction buttons at the bottom. So if you haven't already found it, you can love the speakers, you can applaud the speakers, etc. Okay. There will be a panel discussion at the end. So at 10:02, we'll open the floor. So please, if you've got questions as they're going, type them in the chat. It puts it there as a place marker so that you don't forget, and also our team can pick up the questions as they come. Or you can leave it to the end, but do make sure that you make a note of those questions, please. There will be a gift bag at the end of each quarter. Now, we're going to do that in January. We're going to sort that out in January because my lovely team are taking a couple of weeks off, 3 weeks off to be precise, and they finish tomorrow. So we'll sort that out. I'll sort that out over the Christmas break, and we'll announce it in January. Best speaker feature, your spliced video will be over our 7 socials. Everybody who's speaking can download their version, their little bit, but the main one, the best speaker, will be trumpeted from 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. Mute on, please. Camera on, please, as much as possible. Now, if you're driving, fair enough, but we would love you to be fully engaged, because as a speaker, seeing faces is important rather than black screens. So please do interact. Now, we're going to take a photo. So here we go. Are you ready? Those of you who are not on camera, please, if you'd like to, do a quick hello, Dina, nice to see you. And Dava and Sheldon. Oh, Shreda's here. Oh, Shreda's here twice.
Okay, everyone. So I'm going to take a photo. So in a count of 3, everyone will say, hey, all right? Okay, 1, 2, 3, hey. Okay, one more time because someone is coming.
Here comes Heather.
Yep. All right. Okay. Please open your camera and then we're going to take a photo again. So 1, 2, 3, say hey.
Hey.
Hey. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks very much. Okay. I have to say, we have had a phenomenal year here at Your Words Have Power. we were finalists in the MAD Awards. Now, it is a team effort. It really is a team effort. Okay, you can pop that screen down. Thank you, Grace, because I want to give a shout out to all of my team who are here today. We have Hannah, who's down as Team YHP. Lovely, thank you. We have Grace, who's in charge of the deck. We have Edward, who's off camera at the moment. Oh, there you are. Sorry, Edward. We have Jenny, who's off camera at the moment. We have Susie, who some of you may have come across. Thank you all so very much. Your Words Have Power would not have been the success it has been this year without you. So thank you very much. Okay, right. Can we come on? Excuse me. Let's get back to the day. 91 speakers. How great are we? Okay, so this is our schedule. I've more or less finished the introduction. We're going to go with Luke, then Charlene, then Shrida, then Rachel. We'll finish off with the Q&A, and just before we finish, we have the surveys launched. So what we'd like you to do then is save the chat, take down the URL, and as you're doing it, in the next 24 hours, come off this call and do it straight away while it's still fresh in your memory. We'd love to have your feedback, because speakers like genuine feedback. Not Luke was brilliant. Well, we know that, but how was he brilliant? How was Charlene hitting the mark? What resonated with you? That's what we're after, please. Okay, thank you very much. Grace, let's go. Okay, so are we ready? First speaker up today. We've heard that phrase, don't judge a book by its covers. Well, Luke embodies that. He can see behind these troubled youth, the individuals who are antsy, aggressive, troublesome as far as the schools are concerned. They want them out the way. Well, somehow Luke is attracted to them and they are attracted to Luke because he's been there. Luke, can you tell us more about From Parent to Mentor, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Wendy, for your introduction. I really appreciate it. And thanks to the Your Words Have Power team for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this and share something that I'm really passionate about. A little bit about me. I'm a counsellor. I have my own private practice, work with parents and young people just to help their families understand each other a little bit further. I work with schools. I'm currently a counsellor at a school to work with young people and their families. And the one thing that I do a lot, and a lot of my time is taken up with, is working with parents for them to understand their young people, staff to be able to deliver meaningful content for the students that are at the high school, and just navigate the maze of mental health, which is quite a severe thing that's happening around us now with all the COVID stuff and the things that we had with lockdown. So I just want to start by saying parent to mentor is a challenge. It's a huge challenge, just like with young people that they transition from primary school to high school, which my son's doing next year. This part here is parenting, I would have to say, is probably the toughest job in the world. It comes with a lot of judgment, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of worry. And I feel like, there's no book. There's just no book to parenting. And it's probably the hardest part of learning as an adult when we have kids is how do we do this? Are we doing the right thing? And a lot of the times we're probably not, but we're learning as we go, right? And what I found is that parents in general will either parent the same as their parents parented them, or they'll do the complete opposite. And a lot of the times what we find is that they don't necessarily take the gold out of both, especially if you're parenting complete opposite to your parent, way your parents parented you. You'll probably find that in general, you haven't taken some of the good things that they gave you because you view it as such a negative experience. And there's no right way. I have to say this right now. There's no right way of going about parenting. There's no book. There's no direction. The only guidance we have is the guidance we see from our parents, stuff we've experienced from our parents, our grandparents, and the people around us. So you're doing the best you can with what you have available to you. And that's one thing I have to say, we have to own. It's okay. You're doing the best you can, and it's all you can do. But what I want to give you right now is some understanding about how we can shift from parent to mentor, so that way we can alleviate some of the stresses that come along with some of the things that happen with the challenges that parents are facing from a day-to-day basis. So shifting from parent to mentor is more about trusting your instincts. I feel like a lot of the time when parents are being spoken to by schools, by their other friends, and the judgment that comes along with it from themselves and from others, they don't necessarily listen to their instincts or trust them. So when we think about the Western philosophy of psychology and all those sorts of things, we look at it and say, this is brain and this is mind and the rest of us is just body. Well, I much prefer the Eastern philosophy of things, which says to us that this is brain that decodes what my mind, my heart, and what my gut, my body says. And when we trust these two parts here, our heart and our gut, we don't necessarily make wrong choices because we're guided by the things that are most important to us. It's value-based, where our brain is really designed to keep us safe. It really is. So if we can get out of our mind and listen to what our instincts is telling us, you'll find that you'll have a much better relationship with your young people. So I've got this model, and I've created this model. It's a 9-step model, and there's so much in it. But I thought that I would condense that, because we've only got 10 minutes. Thought I condense that into 3 parts for you. Probably the 3 parts that you can take away from today and implement straight away. So I like this. I love, and I learned this throughout my counseling degree. I learned this through coaching. I learned this through working with mentors and the conversations I get to have with mentors and the network that I'm connected to. I love this rule. I have an 80-20 rule, and I feel like parents could do the same. And the one thing that I found is when parents have implemented the 80-20 rule, they've changed the game. They've changed the relationship. They've changed the connection, and they're able to start to transition into that mentor role, which is so important because, we can't save our kids from everything, which is what we do as parents. So what is the 80-20 rule? The 80-20 rule is pretty simple. So I give 80. I give 80% of everything, which as a parent, it always feels like we're doing way more than that, right? It feels like we're doing 100% all the time. We're giving, giving, giving. And because we're time poor, we're run down. We're stressed. We feel like we don't have enough sleep. So if we're going from an 80-20 rule, 80% is for them, 20% is for us. So what does that look like? So I like to think about it like this, like I can't draw it right now, but I would normally draw it. So imagine a yin and yang. You have a giving and you have a receiving. You can't have one without the other. And a lot of the time I find that most parents are blocking the 20%. And that would look like us listening and trusting our advice. We're following through, we're modeling that. But we're also listening to our kids too, because they live in a different age to us. We're living back then. That's in when we grew up. They're living now. So they've got stuff to give us that we don't have yet. There's wisdom in both. And we'll go into wisdom real shortly. So I hope that makes sense to you. 80-20 rule changes the game completely in our relationship. The second part that I wanted to discuss with you is regulation. Regulation is so huge. If you can't remain regulated with your young person when you're having a chat with them, how are they going to respond to you in a positive light? They're not. We're continually matching and mirroring. Our nervous systems are communicating on a subcortical level, which is body. Okay, so our body's communicating and matching each other. So if you approach it with a negative body language, they're going to follow you. That includes the facial muscles. So if your facial muscles and even the little muscles around your eyes, if they're squinting and they're a little tight, they're going to match it with the same. So think about how we go about that. How do we remain regulated? And there's so much stuff on the work that Stephen Porges did on the polyvagal theory. And if you definitely check out vagal toning, that will change the game for you, because it'll allow you to regulate in the moment and trusting your instincts, because if you're feeling that way, so are they. So really get to understand what's happening for you, because you're matching them and they're matching you. And then we expect more from them than what we're willing to give in the relationship. The last part I wanted to discuss with you, because I'm mindful of time, is pass down your wisdom. What I mean by that is, it's not just about knowledge. Our kids have got a phone, right? They can pick up a phone anytime and find whatever they want out. We've got knowledge because we have lived experience that they don't have. And a lot of times I found that parents look at, okay, here's my problem. Here's my kid's problem. And they go straight to the outcome. This is where you've got to be. When our kids know this much, and that's all they know, but we don't have to give them this. We just need to fill the gap. What's the gap? What's the next step? Remember, we don't have to know everything. Okay, they know more about now, these times now, than we do. So we just need to fill the gap. We don't have to go all the way to the end. Going all the way to the end really overloads people, and it doesn't allow your gut to come into play. It doesn't allow you to go, hey, this is the lived experience I had, and this is what I want to give you, but I'm going to give it to you in a scaffold way. Education system does everything scaffold. It works. That's why they do it. So we need to follow the same process. Just give the next step. Just give the very next step. That's true mentoring, not teaching, mentoring, and then let them go away and play around with it. They're going to make mistakes. That's where their wisdom is going to build. It's kind of a bit like thinking about going to the gym, right? If we go to the gym and I go pump the weights for you, are you going to get stronger? Chances are no, obviously not, right? However, if we go to the gym together and we work out together, we both get to grow our muscles. We're no longer working in deficit, we're working in strength and power, which creates wisdom, not knowledge. There's so much more I could talk about today. I could go on about this forever because I really love it. And I love watching parents change and shift and start to get to know more about what they have to offer their young people, but also what they have to offer themselves, because you're the last one that you look after. You look after everybody else around you. We save everybody. We need to move away from saving and move into support. What does that look like for you and your family? If you want to know more about that, please reach out to me through social media on Facebook. Please just look up Luke Letsett Counseling and Coaching. Send me a message and let's have a chat about your circumstances. Let's have a chat about how we can help you. Or please send me an email at connect@lukeletsett.com.au, and I'm always open for a chat. Thank you so much for listening today. I really appreciate it. Guys, take care.
Woohoo! Go you, Luke. Thank you so much. I mean, wow. I love the 80-20 rule. I love the passion you've got in there. And yes, as parents, the guilt chip is instilled, particularly from the female perspective, as soon as you conceive, isn't it? And it never goes away until you die, let alone the child. So thank you, Luke. That was really brilliant wisdom. I love the idea of wisdom and not knowledge. Thank you. Thank you. Charlene, are you ready? We're up next. We're up next. Now, sometimes we get dealt a whole heap of things in life, and they seem to follow a pattern, and we get stuck in a bit of a rut. It can be an uncomfortable rut, but it's a familiar rut until something happens and you go, no more. I'm not doing this anymore. I am consciously going to change my rut. I'm going to get out of this rut and do something different. That was Charlene's position. Charlene, can you tell us more about the power within? Over to you.
Hi, my name's Charlene. I come from, you may wonder who I am. I'm the founder of Destiny Within, a life coaching for empowerment and growth and inner work for women mostly, and for anyone else. So I do come from 20 years of nursing, which we do a lot of counselling. My own story is I experienced domestic violence about 12 years ago and actually left a 13-year marriage. So in this time, after that, I decided that I was going to make a difference, not only for myself, but for other people that have that self-confidence and self-love that they don't have in their lives. So here, my story begins with where I actually experienced grief, complicated grief, not only losing a marriage, but a mother within 2 years' time. And this really shifted me, and I experienced depression, environmental depression. So a lot of people may ask what environmental depression is compared to chemical depression. So environment's from your environment, and I had a year of cognitive behaviour therapy. So this actually, and I overcome that. So my journey was to grow from within me and do the inner work. So my first step was actually learning and knowing knowledge. And one of the first things I did was meditation. So personally, I experienced nightmares, constant nightmares from the trauma, and meditation actually changed my life in that way. So even a simple 10-minute meditation can change your life in so many ways. It gives you, your brain can relax, and you actually can do a lot of self-reflection as your brain is relaxed, and it actually rewires your brain. So this is something that has changed my life, is meditation. And I know everybody says they can't do it. It's something that is simple as practice. And this is the first step in my journey from someone who was very shy, very unconfident, to now running my own coaching business. And this has given me the confidence to step out of my comfort zone, is doing the inner work. And also, if I could share with you as well, self-confidence. And a lot of people have they're still not over the 2-year lockdown. And that's when I decided to really ramp up my inner work, was just before lockdown. We had 2 years in Melbourne. So this has given me that determination to spread the word that we're out there. And a lot of people are still not comfortable. They're still not suffering. They're still suffering in the world from lockdown as well. So, and that inner work is just such a major part that I feel out on the Facebook groups, there's no one that tells you how to do the inner work. So that's what Destiny Within, my Facebook group and my coaching does. It's a 6 to 12-week program, and we go deep into your self-confidence, your self-love, and also what within you is holding you back from, like, there are inner wounds, and I had them myself. I had father wounds, mother wounds, and this is what opened my doors to everything in my life. So, and I feel personal development is an ongoing thing. Not everybody's into it. I totally understand, but it totally changed my life. And going from someone who comes from domestic violence, and I'm such an advocate of this can happen to men and women, to help people change and become the best version of themselves in every way. So with my coaching, we do vulnerability. We look into where you've come from. We look at circles of your life, and especially habits as well. And this just gives such a power when you've got someone guiding you on that journey of your inner work, someone that you can trust. And yet meditation totally is, it's opened my door to all of this. And when I will explain, as I noticed some people were saying about meditation, I would have 3 nightmares a night, one after the other. And it was just, obviously I couldn't work. I had so much trouble with that. So when I started meditating, they went away within 6 months. And I'm really passionate about brains and how your brain level works, and also your different brain waves. And I'm recently reading Dr. Joe Dispenza and his meditation work. And this just is amazing. Like, you go from your beta down to your theta brain waves, and this goes into your subconscious. And when you start doing this, your brain actually changes and it rewires itself. So it's Hemp's law. It's called what wires together, fires together. So it's like building a track in the bush. You need to keep on working on it. So that's what I've learned from my meditation. And I guess the second thing I'd love you to take away is like how inner work can actually change your life. And this is just from doing it from within. So what is within you is the reflection of your life on the outside. And this is for everybody. It's not just, people that are going through something. Anyone can do inner work. So your reflection of your life is actually what's happening on your inside, and how your thoughts come about and how you're conscious about things. And this is your reflection. So it's like a mirror. And this is what I've learned. And daily self-reflection. So when you do the self-reflection in the mirror, you actually see what you need to adapt in yourself and what needs to be grown and changed. So that's what I do. And it just feels, someone told me it's like the 7 mirrors as well. So same as like the 7 people that you're around, they're the reflection of yourself. I'm sure a lot of you have heard this. And I guess the third thing I'd like you to take away is self-love. This is so powerful, and self-confidence. If we don't have this, we don't get anywhere in life. And I had no confidence, none at all, no self-love. Come from abusive marriage, stepfather that wasn't the best stepfather. So yeah, the self-love. So self-care, take yourself for a walk on the beach, journal, go listen to music. It's something that I don't think we do enough of in this fast-paced world, is self-love and self-care. And with that self-love and self-care, that can help us give us confidence. So when you get out of your comfort zone, this will give you more self-confidence. It feels really scary to be out of that comfort zone, but when you do it, it's really empowering. And that's what I also offer in our coaching as well, is self-confidence to get you out of that self-confidence and out of that zone of not being able to do something. So, and a lot of it is that mind thought. So it's a combination of your mind, your confidence, and how you feel. Because we do have a mind and body coherence as well, your heart and mind coherence. This actually comes in play as well. It's called From the Heart Math Institute in the US, and they've actually they talk about this, and they actually connect your gut, your mind, and your heart together. And when your whole body's connected, it just makes your body be in coherence, not incoherence. So it just feels your whole body is in so much peace and calm. And that's where, the meditation and the self-love and the self-confidence. And it's something that we work on every day. I work on it every day, and I feel sometimes it's like, I can't do this, but then I go, no, I'm doing this. And I just go and do it. So that's one thing I would definitely share, is the self-confidence, meditation, and the self-love, and also to believe in yourself. Most importantly, believe in yourself. And that's where the destiny and power within comes from. Because if you don't believe in you, you've got no one else on your team, then no one else will. So just that is one of the most important messages that I've learned in my journey, is to believe in me, to have the confidence in me. So when you put all the bits together, the self-love, the self-confidence, meditation, then you really are connected. And yes, the heart and mind coherence is just wonderful, but you need to work on your heart to open all those walls to get the heart and mind coherence. And that can go through meditation and breath work, and also with a coach as well. So with Destiny Within, I can help you with that. I can help you open that heart and the vulnerability, and we can work together for it. We do 6, 8, and 12-week programs, and also do accountability as well for meditation. So I really appreciate Wendy inviting me, and also the lovely speakers here as well. And words have power. So thank you so much for today, and letting me just to share my story with you, that you can go from somewhere where you are changing those patterns from domestic violence to being just where you want to be. Follow your dream and just do it. I can be reached. I have a Facebook group called Destiny Within, and also my reached on my email is pandorabob@yahoo.com. And also my name is Charlene Fleur, and I can be found on Facebook, and also Pandora Bob on Instagram as well. So feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about our programs and guide you in your new life, because I believe we can all have our own dreams and we can all follow them. It's just to have the courage to do it. And we all have that courage inside of us. It's believing that we can do it no matter what has come in our way and what obstacles we've had. Because our past is not our future. Our past is our future. Sorry, our future is our future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlene. We've got a bit of a theme going on, haven't we? Trusting bits of us that are not necessarily housed up here. Brilliant, brilliant. And actually, but just to let you know, all of you speakers, your details are going in the chat as you start to speak, and also about 30 seconds before your time is up. So all of that information is in the chat. So please, people, save your chat, You can then get hold of our beautiful speakers afterwards. And if you don't know how to save the chat, bottom of the chat, you've got 3 dots. Click on that, save chat. Thank you so much. Right, Grace, thank you. We're moving on to our third wonderful speaker, Sridhar Raman. Now, we'll have another go down that rut and getting out of it thing. Sridhar came from a situation where nothing's ever good enough. And at the same time, you can't do that. So he was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Literally, that stuck between a rock and a hard place was almost the undoing of him. Sridhar made the decision on a high ledge on top of a building. Which way was he going to jump? Down the big way or back into life? Mercifully, he chose the back into life. Sridhar has now a passion for making sure that other people's potential is not bypassed, is not forgotten, because that unrealized potential leads to pain. Sridhar, can you tell us about your journey from fear to fire? Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Wendy. Thanks. It's just nice that what Luke spoke and what Charlene spoke kinds of gives a cushioning effect for me. So it kind of resonates. And yes, 15 years back, I was on top of a building thinking which side to jump down. And part of it is mainly due to expectations, due to not knowing how to go forward, not having directions, like what Luke said, right? There's no right thing. And there's always things stuck inside. You don't know where it came from. So I've got something to share. Am I allowed to share my screen? No. Okay. So I believe in that quote from James Quick. This is my favorite. And it says, when an egg breaks from outside, life ends. But when an egg breaks from inside, life begins. Right? When an egg breaks from outside, life ends. When an egg breaks from inside, life begins. So I've always believed in starting life inside out. And at a point when I was under financial loans, of course, my parents had the money, but I didn't want to take it from them, right? So when I had financial issues, when I had no job, when I failed on 300 over interviews, and when I did not know if I would complete my master's, no boyfriend, no girlfriend, no girlfriends. So no friends, no girlfriends, a loner basically. And I had enough of it, and I just wanted to move on. And luckily, one night, I decided to end it all and finally jump the other side, just to restart. And I don't know what stopped me, but only one thing, that if I die, I die fighting, not going down like this, right? And my search started, and I started to look around what could help, right? And when I went into Google and when I started searching secrets of success, I found 12,000 results. When I looked for secrets of managing ourselves, I found 10,000 results. Secrets for being happy, 4,000 results. So secrets for finance, 20,000 results. I had enough. There can't be so many secrets, right? There's got to be some basis to this. And that was the stepping stone for my venture, Nonsense to Nuisance, NEW, Nonsense to Nuisance. There's just way too much of crap out there. There's good ones out there, but there's a lot of crap out there, right? And each one is just marketing stuff in a different way and giving things, making things so complicated that people just run away from self-improvement or looking into each other. It's all advice after advice after advice, nothing practical, right? So my search started with this story that I heard, and it resonated very well. It's a story that's been going on of late, but at that time it was only one story. Now everyone seems to be speaking about it. So there's a friend of mine, and this happened in real life in my hometown, but now it's a story. So when my friend went to the restaurant and ordered a fish, a fried fish, he would always get it on a plate with the head and the tail chopped off, right? It was very weird that every time he ordered this is how it happened. And I, being curious, went in and inquired. It's very open in India. You can just walk into the kitchen, at least then, 15 years back, not now. So we just went in and I asked the cook, why do you keep cutting the head and the tail off, you see? And said, well, it's our recipe. I don't know. I need to go and check with my mother who used to cook it that way. And then after a week or two, he came back. He said, well, my mother doesn't know. She needs to check with her mother. And eventually, the reason the head and the tail was cut off is because the vessel at that time, the plate was so small that the entire fish wouldn't sit in, right? This resonated quite deeply inside. And I started doing some study on epigenetics, where the University of Emory did a research on hamsters that fear, negativity can go through generations, multiple generations of hamsters. Now, that's a sad part of it and that's a scary part of it, because fear and negativity will go through, and for reasons you don't know, it's just there. Okay. Now, the good side of it is positivity, optimism, all of this can go through generations also, right? The point is, are we going to go head that path, right? So our brain has the smallest portion, the amygdala, which gives us the fight or flight mode, right? If you look back at our ancient humans, the Neanderthals, they had a very big amygdala and a very small portion of the brain. But now things are different. The amygdala is small for a reason, and we have the whole brain to process. So all of this starts with some kind of a fear, right? In general, there are 12 fears: fear of success, fear of failure, fear of illness. There's 12 whole set of failures that people go through. And there's judgment, there's comparison, there's rejection, there's looks, not being smart enough, and scarcity, abuse, exams, public speaking. In general, it's about these 12 fears. And everything starts with what Luke mentioned, the 80-20, right? It's another way that 20% of these fears control 80% of the other fears, right? And this is where, when I started tracing back my life, okay, what really happened? Why am I sitting in this manner, right? And it all goes back to my 10th in school, when nothing matched. The exam, my English was relatively good, as you can see now, but when I got 75 on 125, and people started making fun around, why is this guy, he talks good English, but he doesn't know English, things like that. It just goes on. And marks didn't help in any way. And I was considered below average, although I had the potential, So marks really, my 10th was horrible. And after that, of course, that built in me a fear of failure, and I come from a lower middle class family where failure is not an option. Okay. It doesn't matter if you're very successful. It doesn't matter if you're scaling new heights, but failure is not an option. So I'd rather take the safe path, get a normal job, get a normal degree, work it out, do what others are doing, be within that conformity that works. But this is not an option. And it's the case even now for many of the middle class people, right? It's not an option. And what to do when this happens? What to do when we're going to face failure? What to do when we're going to face success? So when I bounced back in my pre-university with a rank of 1,200 out of 250,000 people, that was still not good enough. But the thing is, did I put what best I could do? Yes, I did, but it was still not good enough. And comparing, whether we like it or not, is always going to be there. Even if your parents, even if your grandparents don't compare you with the rest of the people, as a kid, or I see kids now, they always compare themselves with somebody or the other, right? Whether they are meeting expectations of their kids, whether they are living up to a certain level, right? Nobody wants to be left out. So this comparison is inherent in all of them. And seeing kids jump off cliff. I lost my nephew that way, and another mom lost her kid this way. It's very hard to see, and I had enough of this, and that is why I started this Nonsense to Nuisance, where I don't want to sell any product. I don't want to be going around doing the same thing the multi-billion, billion-dollar businesses are doing. What's my product? I am the product. Get in touch with me. Let's see what can be done, what works, what doesn't work, and see what can be what works out. A number of people get in touch with me, and I probably am the only one who's going to give up my WhatsApp number here. So there's fear of failure, there's fear of success, there's fear of comparison. So it all boils down to how we can handle this fear, right? And there's a simple exercise. It all starts with focus, right? And the first step of beating fear is focus. So the key, what can be done to get this focus, is to count from 1 to 120 as fast as you can, as loud as you can. The moment you cross about 50 or 60, you will observe that you have nothing left but focus, right? It's about breaking patterns, like what Charlene said. So let's use this opportunity. Let's interact. I'm not going to sell anything. Come talk, just talk. That's what is missing these days. So thanks, Wendy, for giving me this opportunity to share how I came across these hurdles.
Thank you very much, Sridhar. Much appreciated, sir, because our stories are so integral to what our message is, isn't it? We look at the situations we've been through, and those boulders can either be obstacles or stepping stones. So thank you, Sridhar. All your information is in the chat, so people can get hold of you there. Thank you. Okay, Grace. Beautiful. Thank you. Rachel is going to bring us home. Finishing off a bit more about the importance of working as a team. It takes a village to raise a child is an African proverb. Rachel certainly knows that one. And this is where she's bringing in that parental school connection to raise the children, to teach the children, to encourage the children together. It's a team effort. Rachel, can you tell us more about the missing piece of the education puzzle? Over to you.
I certainly can, Wendy, and I just want to say thank you for having me here today, and thank you everyone for joining us. The last few speakers really resonated with me in a lot of ways, and a lot of what you talked about is involved in the work I do with schools. I'm the founder and director of Practically Learning, and my passion is to support the adults who surround children so that children can thrive in their learning and development. I just want to start by sharing a statement that I heard a few years ago at a wellbeing conference I was at. I was actually inspired by the last presentation because one of my cousins actually took his own life a few years ago, and it sort of moved me into the space of wellbeing and having an understanding of how we can support young people. And so I'd like to share this statement that resonated with me that was delivered by a school leader who was at the conference. And she simply said these words: children don't do school, they do relationships. And that's really shaped a lot of the work that I do now. And I guess it's become my why. Every time I think things are getting hard in my work and frustrating or challenging, I always think back to that statement, and I realize that my why is to support children, but ultimately by helping the people who surround children to understand what their role is. I guess the reason I think that there's a perception there is something missing and that education is a puzzle to be solved is because we're constantly hearing a lot of negative press and commentary around education and suggesting that children are not really achieving and they're not getting the results that they should be getting from, compared to all the other children around the world. And there's this constant pressure to be successful And one of the speakers just touched on that, and that fear of failure and just all these pressures on not just on the education system itself, but on children, and they're ultimately the recipients of what we put onto them. And one of the things that I've noticed in the last few years too is that there's an attitude or a view of parents being aggressive and that they're hard to deal with, or that they're often hard to reach. But when I heard that statement about children, it really made it simple for me, and that education doesn't have to be complicated, that it actually isn't that complex, and that there's not a huge mountain of problems to solve. But we just need to recognise that children need the adults who are around them to be in relationship, to work through any challenges together. And these challenges are more than just in education, as we know, and as we've heard from our speakers this morning. There are actually a lot of social challenges that we're dealing with, and those impact children and their learning at school. So when I attended that particular wellbeing conference, I was actually going through a bit of a career change at that time, and I was moving into the space of parent engagement and family school partnerships, which was a whole new world for me. I was a graphic designer and had been for around 24 years, but I realised that there was something else calling me, and that I needed to somehow make a difference for others. So I guess little did I know that I would be in this space that I am at the moment, and really trying to find the answers to how to actually bring parents and teachers closer together in relationship. Throughout our lifetime, we encounter so many different types of relationships, and I suppose the one that resonates with me the most is my unique relationship that I have with each of my children, especially as I guided them through their learning and their formal schooling. So in their own lives, children have so many people who are influencing them, their values and their beliefs and their attitudes. And teachers are perhaps the greatest influence on our children as they're going through their education. And yet, as a parent, you don't really get a chance to get to know the teachers before they are actually in the care of your children. And so I guess that's an area that I was really interested in exploring further through my work, and why that was not happening. If you knew me 15 years ago, you will have seen me walking through the gates of the primary school with my eldest daughter, and really going back in time, I guess, as a parent walking into the school gates for the first time, it really does feel quite foreign, because the last time you were there is as a student. And a lot of parents feel a little bit like fish out of water, because sometimes memories can come flooding back when you were at school and what your experience was like. And I must admit that it really did take me back into a bit of a time warp, and sort of brought back a lot of not so great memories of school. I came to realise that also that when parents and carers join the school journey, that there's not a lot of information for parents about what their role is once their children begin school, and it can be quite a daunting prospect. And some parents tend to retreat, or they look to other parents for advice. And some parents actually volunteer in the classroom just so that they can see what their children are learning and stay connected somehow. A few years ago, a parent described it perfectly to me in terms of what that feeling is like, and what the experience of parents is like. And I call it the snow dome effect, because it's a little bit like being inside the snow dome with your children when they're young, and you're watching them grow and learn as you're in the village with them, as they're running through the village, and you're actually on the journey with them. And then once they start the school journey, it feels a little bit like you're on the outside of the snow dome looking in, and you're catching some glimpses of their learning, and you're a little bit of a part of it, but effectively you feel a little bit like an outsider looking in. And I observed that culture in my children's school, and so I decided to take some action and do something about it. And I spoke with the school principal about perhaps shifting the culture towards a more inclusive school, where families would feel more a part of the village and be able to be engaged in their children's learning journey, no matter what their background, their culture, and their or their language. So eventually the work that we did in the school really demonstrated that when parents and teachers can work together to support children, their learning and development really thrives. And it was actually a thrill for me to be able to work with the school principal and the teachers, and it then led me to the work that I'm doing now in schools to actually build those relationships. I've had the privilege since then, over the last 12 years, to work with school teachers and leaders, as well as parents. And I've also worked with education systems, authorities, and government. And what I've observed really is that what is missing that can truly make a difference is that development of family school partnerships and parent engagement in learning. So why is this actually important? You may have noticed actually since the pandemic that many parents are asking more questions about their children's learning because they've had exposure to what their children learn and they want to be a part of that journey. Some may see that as being a little bit more demanding and wanting to know too much and maybe being a bit overbearing, but it's actually a blessing in disguise because we want more parents to be engaged in their children's learning. Perhaps you're also aware that education results have declined over the past few years, especially for our boys, which is really concerning. More recently, there has been a teacher shortage crisis, not just in Australia, but all around the world. And this could potentially reshape the way that education is delivered in our future. A recent report also revealed that tens of thousands of children have gone missing out of the school system since the pandemic, which is quite alarming, but not really surprising because a lot of children disconnected from school during lockdowns. So there's literally mountains of research over the past 5 decades, and the most recent Family School Engagement Playbook demonstrated that when teachers and parents work together in partnership, the following goals can be achieved. Together, we can improve attendance and completion of students at school. We can improve learning and development for students, and together we can redefine the purpose of school for students. Also redefining the purpose of school for society today, but we can't do it alone. But I still have some major questions to ask. Why is family school partnerships not mandated in Australia and other countries? Why is there still no national policy for this to become an integral part of our education culture and to be funded adequately? With a multitude of frameworks available, why aren't more schools implementing consistent strategies to achieve results? And why is family school partnerships a contentious issue still for many schools?
Oh, Rachel, I'm sorry. I had to, I know you were probably so close to the end there. We need to be strict. The reason that we are strict, folks, is because we are modeling good practice, because if you are on stage and you've been booked on stage, if you go over time, then the event manager is not going to book you again. Rachel, did you have much more to say? Go on, you can unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, go on.
I was just going to share what my program is.
Okay. All the information for Rachel's program is in the chat, so please do look her up. She is an absolute mine of information. Thank you so much to all our wonderful speakers. What wisdom you have shared with us today, and that golden thread of being connected head and heart, connected with each other, connected as a group, as a collective. And let's take that forward consciously into 2023. There you go. That's my little profundity for the day. Okay. Thank you very much, Grace. We now have the opportunity for some question and answers. Have we got any questions that have come up from the panel? I've got a question. Rachel, the stats that you were giving us just now, are those specifically Australia, or are they, where do they come from?
Yes, Australian. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. A lot of us here are Australian, but there are quite a few people from outside Australia as well. Just wanted to check that. Thank you.
It is a worldwide challenge, though.
Oh, isn't
Yeah.
it just? Isn't it just?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, please? Okay, we have had a wonderful, wonderful presentation event today. Thank you so much. We've had that thread running through it. In fact, we've had a thread running through the entire year about your words having power. It's been a phenomenal ride from our perspective. All of our 89 speakers that we've had through the door have made such an impact. They have been making a difference. Sorry, 91. Thank you, Jenny. She's the stats lady. 91 speakers. It's been amazing. We have sat here in awe and wonder at the wisdom that's been shared. And all of our speakers have made such a difference to the audience. So next year, we are flipping from the speaker's perspective of your words have power, and we're moving towards the audience's perspective of making a difference. So, speakers, you have the opportunity not only for a retreat and an online and or virtual summit, we also have a compilation book that you can come and join, part of Making a Difference. We will be in touch. Do you remember that second slide when we talked about the 9 pillars of influential communication? Attached to that is a download button for the 9 pillars of influential communication. Please do download that. And we can then talk about where you see your speaking journey going next year. Making a difference. That's what we're all about, isn't it? Yeah, thank you. Okay, can we have the URL for the survey link? Thank you. Right, now, this is it, folks. Please make a note of this. It's in the chat. You have 24 hours. And as you have realized that timing is quite crucial when it comes to your words have power, please don't leave it to the last minute. You've heard some wonderful speakers today. Give them some brilliant feedback, would you? Constructive feedback. Be specific about what worked, what could do with some work, and maybe some tweaks that you could suggest so that those brilliant presentations could be even betterer. Speakers, I look forward to speaking to you on your perk calls, your post-event review calls. Let's keep in touch, because next year, Your Words Have Power will come back in a different guise. But it's not going away completely. So keep focusing on. If you're not already members of the Courageous Influential Speakers group, ping me a message and we will invite you in. It's a closed group because there's something going on every day, because we're having the opportunity for speakers to be courageous and try out new material. All of our speakers have come from a vulnerable position. It takes courage to stand up and tell your story. It's like bearing your soul. I'll just quickly finish off. Thank you. The TEDx team that I work with, we had very experienced speakers, even lawyers, attorneys who are used to standing up in front of the High Court, really bricking it because they were getting on stage and telling their story. So I cannot overestimate how important it is to have that courage. And I applaud every single one of our 91 speakers. Thank you. You have made a difference this year because your words have power. Thank you. Okay, Grace, we'll pop up the thank you thing. And that's us. Thank you so much, everybody.